if I had paid 200,000 per coin, I would be happy right now. I would be just as happy as I am, and I paid 20,000 per coin.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, because this is not a short run type thing. It's long run.
Yes.
You know, and see, at my age, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm real healthy.
Yeah.
I might still be doing great at 100.
Yeah.
But I might get sick next week and die, you know, so, but I have to, and also my wife, so I have to allow, I want assets that will be there longer than I am.
Yeah.
And still growing.
Yep.
Do you feel like you've put aside enough wealth to take care of you and your wife, even if you live to be 100, 110, along with
100,000. We could be 100,000 years old.
Whoa! Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, and if you're not that brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'll be your host, Stuart Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, resident Bitcoin smash buyer whenever my wife lets me. We're giving away 10 million sats.
10 million.
10 million sats over on YouTube. All you have to do is head to Sat Chats on YouTube, smash the subscribe button just like I smash buy Bitcoin, and you'll automatically be entered to win 10 million sats.
Bam, done. If we get enough watch hours, we'll unlock a membership area so you can see raw tape early, plus maybe a few other things. We're on the road to number 99 christen, but we don't care about that at all right now because we are going back in time to plug a very glaring hole in our history. If you've spent any time with Sat Chats, you'll know that our Sat Chats playlist, which you should be listening to in order, goes from number 13 directly to number 15.
Our body of work has been incomplete.
Yes.
Ever since the last time we saw this man right here.
And this man is the man. This is number 14, Robert.
Yeah.
His initial show was so nuts that I was basically maxed out on adrenaline for like 5 hours afterward. I was so pumped that Robert's story, that we had captured Robert's story. Like that made me feel like, I think our original attempt to tape your show, which by the way, everybody, the audio was corrupted, so we couldn't release it. That made me feel like we were creating a Bitcoin podcast that was like no other Bitcoin podcast in the game. Because every Bitcoin podcast focuses on Bitcoin news or Bitcoin predictions or Bitcoin pundits, or maybe it's in a financial slant or a political slant. This show not only helps pre-coiners stack their first sats to become Bitcoiners, but we collect stories from Bitcoiners. And number 14, Robert's story is unbelievable.
Probably the best I've ever heard.
I mean, I was so amped that whole day. And when we realized something had messed up, it literally was like I got punched in the gut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I do.
So we do have number 14, Robert, here in the studio today. I'm already so pumped up. We're going to get Robert's Bitcoin story, and we're actually going to talk about our experience collateralizing Bitcoin because Robert's exploring that. But before we do, Robert, help our Satillionaires get to know who you are a little bit.
Well, I think they say that about everybody. Well, I was in business my whole working life until I retired, and I'm really not retired. I'm just not doing the kind of thing that you call a job, but I'm still real busy. I owned a management consulting company with a big part of my company was CPAs, and we worked for local businesses in Raleigh and a few big, huge businesses that covered Europe and that kind of thing. Sold the company, did work in the dental field, the business management side of dentistry for a while. And during this time, I saved by buying rental real estate. And I think it was in 2021 that I realized I needed to get some of my money, a lot of my money out of real estate. And I started seriously looking at the stock market for the first time in my life. I mean, I probably was as familiar with most people, and I owned some stock, but I had never really focused on it until I think 2021. I might be off a year in here. And as I started looking at YouTube, and I discovered Bitcoin and Microsoft, which is just another form of Bitcoin, and Tesla.
MicroStrategy.
Yeah, MicroStrategy. Thank you. And Tesla, and I sold a bunch of real estate and bought those three. I put about 1/3 into each of those three. And, it's gone up a lot since then, and I expect that it will go up a whole lot more in the future. Just seemed to be the thing to do, so I did it.
So, so let's run that back real quick. You were a successful businessman, and your savings account was basically real estate that you could rent out to others.
Yep.
So you would earn enough to, I'm assuming, would you earn enough to basically get the down payment going on the house and have a loan that went with it, and then the renter would basically pay your mortgage for you, maybe with some juice on top to either make a profit or put aside in case they, broke their fridge or there was some kind of repair?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I would save enough to make a down payment and make a down payment.
So why, and when did you buy your first piece of rental real estate? What year?
Oh, wow. I was born in 51. I became aware of some commercial property for sale at Carolina Beach when I was about 16 or 17. And so that would have been 1967, a long time ago. And I didn't have the money to buy it, but I got my father to do it, and I bought 10%. That was my first real estate investment.
Wow.
25 years later, we sold it. Then I bought houses and duplexes and triplexes and just general rental property as I could. It wasn't my focus. My focus was my work, but I'd save up enough money to do it and still have enough cash to operate my business, so I'd buy some more.
So your dad was willing to go in on a real estate deal with you as a teenager?
Yeah. I convinced him. I had to sell him, but I did.
That's incredible.
True entrepreneur.
Your dad sounds like he is the man.
Yeah.
And I hope I am that open to my son when he reaches that age, because that is incredible. Now, that means from 1967 or so until 2021, you were happy for 5 decades to build generational wealth through real estate. What changed in 2020 or 2021?
COVID tyranny. I saw the government attacking working people, and I felt vulnerable, with the rental property. I think there was a federal bureaucrat that just declared that nobody has to pay rent.
Oh, yes.
It's just a bureaucrat, and our courts wouldn't intervene. It's just, and I saw towns going down, cities going down, neighborhoods going down, and you never can tell if your neighborhood is going to be swamped or not. So I just decided I needed to find other ways to have my investment capital invested. And I had heard of Bitcoin, just barely. I just thought of it as something that some of those computer guys out there did, and it sounded interesting, but I didn't know enough about it to take it seriously. Then through YouTube, I found out it was very serious. And now I just, like young men that I know, I just want to shake them. In fact, it's how you heard about me. I think you have a friend, Jack.
Yeah, number 12.
Yeah, and I would just text Jack, and I do this with lots of mostly young men. I said, Jack, you've got to buy Bitcoin. You just got to buy Bitcoin. Just trying to get these guys to slow down long enough and realize you don't have to put $1 million in. You can put $500 in, $200 in, but do it, because it just seems to be, it's like it's a secret that the world has not figured out yet. And
Yep.
when the world figures it out, this $100,000 per Bitcoin price is going to be the good old days.
What kinds of things are you sharing with Jack and others like him that are working?
I think what has worked has been repetition.
Yeah.
You know, there's only so much you can say.
Yeah.
And you can find out this is the greatest whatever, you know, about any product.
Yep.
You hear it all day, every day. This is the best car you've ever seen. This is the best washing machine in history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when I text them and I say this is the best investment in history in terms of broad access, well, they hear this is the best all day, every day. So, but after a while, they seem to catch on. Several are buying Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that we helped you do the work of orange pilling number 12 Jack, because not only did he choose to stack the sats with us, but he went on to set up a Coinbase account. And whenever he has extra money each week left over from his pressure washing, he'll buy $10 here, $20 there, $30 there. He actually orange pilled his girlfriend, who now has a weekly recurring buy on Coinbase, I think for $20 a week.
I'm glad to hear that.
Now, number 12 Jack is a good, hardworking fellow who is, you know, fighting for his life to make enough money as a pressure washing business owner.
Yeah.
So he's not quite at the level of having the luxury of a weekly recurring buy. He can only buy some when he has a couple of extra bucks laying around. But he reached a pinch point in February or March when the pressure washing business dried up. Okay. There's a period each year where the pollen hits so hard that nobody wants to spend on a pressure wash only for it to just get yellow again immediately. So he was eyeballing his Bitcoin with big sweat drops on his forehead, trying to determine if he needed to sell some of his sats to make that end meet until it picked back up. And I am very proud to say that, number one, I was there to help him, okay? And I was there to say, no, do not do it. But also, he had what it took to be like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. And he hung on to it. And then the orders came back and he's fine.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So big shout out number 12 Jack. You're going to see him in the documentary when it comes out, and we love that guy. You talked about repetition being important for helping pre-coiners stack their first sats. But what messages are you repeating to them? Like, what aspects of Bitcoin are important to you that you want other people to understand?
Well, there's never been an investment asset that had a true maximum that it no more could ever be made. And I think technically 21 million is the max, but a lot has been lost, which is something that anybody buying it needs to find out about to make sure you don't lose your Bitcoin. But probably in reality, only 15 million will ever exist that are accessible, and it's just so convenient. You know, you can move and it goes with you. You can go to the moon; it'll go with you as long as they have internet up there.
Yeah,
it travels with you, and it's the perfect type of media for huge organizations to use to make payments among themselves, such as China or Russia or the USA or Europe buying oil from Saudi Arabia. Just pay for it in Bitcoin, and it hasn't been discovered yet. I mean, $100,000 per Bitcoin is ridiculously cheap. You know, people need to be able to buy things for $120 million with Bitcoin. And each unit is going to have to be worth a lot more before that becomes doable. What else do I tell them? I just tell them, hey, it's going to be worth many multiples of what it is right now. And I hate to see you miss it.
So number 14, Robert, is in his 70s. I think 72.
74.
74. And he's in the comments of my dad's episode.
Really?
And he's like, listen, Monty, because Dad, now, by the way, when Dad comes back on, you're going to see he's like this.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's like, he's like, "Skirr." Like it's going everywhere. And now he's worked himself to the point where he's where I am, where he's waiting for his wife to let him buy more Bitcoin. It's like, I've shown him the way and given him the curse at the same time. You know what I mean? Where now that you're ready to just yeet everything into Bitcoin, there's a limiter called you're in a relationship and y'all have finances together, so you have to get there together. But you know, my dad had some trouble, and he basically took the sats at the end of my show because he asked me what he should choose in order to build generational wealth for us, for my generation, for my sister, my brother, and me, and then the grandkids. And I said, well, your only choice is Bitcoin. But Robert's in the comment, and he's like, Monty, Bitcoin is like a baby that was just born and nobody knows it yet, but it's the greatest investment of all time. And $100,000 per Bitcoin, and I think he said, is basically free. It means that Bitcoin is free. It's so cheap, it's basically free. And I'm just like, oh, I just love that we have a boomer with laser eyes right here in Raleigh who like not only do like, because we've had, since your show, we've had many people in their 70s on this show. We've had, I guess many is like 5 to 7. Okay. And many of them are still approaching Bitcoin and they're getting used to it as an investment that does well and that it might do something. But you're unique in that you get that Bitcoin is the greatest of all time and that it's going to the moon and that it can go literally to the moon and past, right? So, you know, you mentioned the fact that it has broad access. Anybody can buy Bitcoin around the whole world. You mentioned that it's verifiably scarce. And I'm always, I forget that the 21 million number is the original intended number. But Satoshi also designed it to become more valuable as it is lost, which is incredible to think about. And I also heard that you said, you know, that these guys, they don't need to put everything in it in order for it to go to the moon over time.
Right.
So I would say that's a fairly compelling pitch for someone who hasn't stacked any sats yet. And by the way, if you haven't stacked any sats yet, what are you doing? Pause the video and go stack some sats.
I literally helped a friend of mine set up a Blue Wallet, set up an account on Bitcoin Well, and set up a $50 a week recurring buy this weekend at the pool.
Wow.
On his cell phone.
Wow.
He needed his ID.
Yeah.
He did the KYC.
Yeah.
And literally 10 minutes, the Bitcoin was in his wallet.
Wow.
It did not take like when we set up our wallet and our Bitcoin Well account here on SatChats for the business, it took forever. It took like 2 weeks.
And I had to struggle to get my mom and dad up there too.
Yeah. Really?
No, yeah, it just took a while to get them verified and stuff.
No.
They've worked out whatever kinks.
This guy, it took 10 minutes.
Wow.
I went up to the little window where you order food at the pool, and they gave me, I was like, God, can I get a piece of paper and a pen? Because he needs to write down a C word. And they gave me one of the waiter's checks that they write your order down on it.
Yeah.
Guess how many spaces were there?
12. That's amazing.
12 spaces. I was like, this is meant to be right here.
Well, I love how easy that is. And so look, do it and smash the subscribe while you're there. Because if you like what number 14 Robert has shared so far, you need to smash it and get your chance at 10 million sats. Okay. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you're not going to believe what Robert does at the end of the episode, because he already did it once and we know what it is, and you're going to want to stick around to see it. Okay. So when you let's go back now that we've got, you know, your pre-coiner pitch, so to speak, to your own Bitcoin story, where you took 5 decades to comfortably build wealth through real estate, and then COVID and the non-payment of rents, and also to an extent the emptying out of urban and suburban spaces, kind of made real estate not seem so hot anymore. You decided you needed to find something else, and you went onto YouTube to look at stocks first.
Yeah.
And how long, like, what did you find about stocks? I mean, I guess, how did you find Bitcoin on YouTube? Because if you had learned enough about stocks to go, okay, this is it, you wouldn't necessarily have looked any further, but something about what you found made you want to keep searching, and then you found Bitcoin. So what was that experience for you teaching yourself about other assets?
Well, when I go on YouTube, I look at a lot of financial stuff anyway. So the Bitcoin choice was there, Michael Saylor and many others whose names I can't think of right now, but it was just natural to look. And I became more sold on that than anything else. I was always hesitant to buy mutual fund type things, just sprawled out over everything.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to find one or two or three companies that I had specific reasons to believe they were going to go up tremendously. And I discovered Tesla doing that. And MicroStrategy really is just another way of owning Bitcoin.
Right.
It's just a different form. And I've got most of my eggs in that basket. I still have some real estate, but not nearly as much as I used to then.
How many properties did you sell in that 2020, 2021 space to convert into other things?
Probably 6.
6. Wow. Can you imagine having enough conviction to sell 6 real estate properties for Bitcoin?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Yeah. I mean, did you know a lot of Bitcoiners at the time, or were you kind of in your house, pandemic style, learning this for yourself and getting enough conviction to be like, I'm not necessarily seeing this from peers or getting, did you feel like you were kind of on your own in that moment and you're like, I just know that this is it and I'm ready to sell this stuff?
Yeah. I think you two are probably the first 2 people I've ever known who are significantly involved in Bitcoin. I don't really know many people. Most people, when I bring it up, they're curious, but people tend to not act. They don't take actions,
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's my personality type, so, but I felt like I knew the guys on YouTube, and there are lots of guys on YouTube that explain Bitcoin, why it's good, and what the current market situation is and where it's likely to go and why. So YouTube is an amazing source for whatever you want to learn about.
There you go.
It really is.
Shout out all the YouTubers who came before us to do the Lord's work of getting people to learn more about Bitcoin, because some mixture of YouTubers created number 14 Robert, who is now here on our Bitcoin podcast, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
You sold 6 properties in and around Raleigh, and then you put 1/3 of the proceeds into Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't quite ready to do 100% in Bitcoin. So to hedge your bets, you put another 1/3 into Tesla and another 1/3 into MicroStrategy.
And that's just a different form of owning Bitcoin. It's the same asset. If Bitcoin would go to zero, I have no concern about that. But if it did, MicroStrategy would go down just like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a different way of owning it. And I liked the idea of having some stock that's actually Bitcoin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, help our Satillionaires understand when you started buying Bitcoin and that downward journey that you went on to, 20K or whatever it was, so that people understand that you didn't just buy Bitcoin when it was doing good. You were buying it on the way down.
Just barely. It was dropping pretty fast. My average cost is about $20,000 per coin. I had some property on the market, and Bitcoin had been at 60,000, and Bitcoin started dropping. And I told my realtors, "Hey, get busy. Let's get this thing done. I want to buy it before it goes back up." But it just kept going down. It went from 60 to 20.
Wow.
It went on down below 20.
Wow. Great timing.
Yeah, it just worked out.
But think about the conviction, though. It's free falling.
Yeah.
And he's still gobbling it up.
Yeah.
Like what I love about number 14 is that he believes in Bitcoin. I think it's so incredible. And I love it.
The facts are there. I mean, I don't know how anybody can look at the facts and not believe in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like believing in air. You breathe air because it helps your body stay alive. You know, Bitcoin, if you learn about it, it's there's just no reason not to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But still, I only wanted to put 1/3 in it. You know, I mean, and in a way, 2/3 because MicroStrategy is Bitcoin.
Right.
But it makes me nervous to put all my eggs in one basket, no matter how good the basket looks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
But now, if
3 is small.
if I was y'all's age, if I was young,
Yeah.
I would put it all in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a lifetime of acquiring value, and it doesn't seem smart to put it all in one basket, no matter how good the basket
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
But if you were our age, Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you know, let's let the satillionaires know, you know, did you dollar cost average on the way down, or did you smash buy Bitcoin when you got the funds?
A smash.
Smashed it. Yes.
Yeah.
Smashed
I
it.
think it's between July and maybe October. I think
mean,
it's 2020.
And that your investment has 5x'd in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is impossibly unheard of anywhere else, almost at any other period. I mean, unless you own a company.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is the only way you can breathe that kind of air.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I say it is it's the best mass available investment, I think, in history.
I think
Right.
We're just freaky lucky to be alive during this time.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin didn't exist, you know, 20 years ago. And 20 years from now, I think it'll still be climbing. But at some point in the future, I think it will even off up in the millions per coin.
Yeah.
And never lose buying power. Probably always be gaining buying power.
Yeah.
But right now, it's doing like that. It won't do like that past some amount. Maybe it's 100 million per coin. But at some point, it will somewhat level off.
Yeah.
And still be a good investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I mean,
would you buy more Bitcoin at 100 million a coin? Would you stack sats at 100 million a Bitcoin?
No, but I just don't need to. If I had paid 200,000 per coin, I would be happy right now. I would be just as happy as I am, and I paid 20,000 per coin.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, because this is not a short run type thing. It's long run.
Yes.
You know, and see, at my age, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm real healthy.
Yeah.
I might still be doing great at 100.
Yeah.
I might get sick next week and die, you know, so, but I have to, and then also my wife, so I have to I want assets that will be there longer than I am.
Yeah.
And it's still growing.
Yep.
Do you feel like you've put aside enough wealth to take care of you and your wife, even if you live to be 100, 110, along with
100,000. We could be 100,000 years old.
Whoa!
You know, it's a combination of luck and using the gifts that you've received, working hard, saving money.
Yeah.
By driving a $10,000 car or a $5,000 car, while your friends are driving $30,000 cars or $60,000 cars. You know, if you're willing to not look rich, and therefore you live more frugally, and you take what you would be spending on going out to eat and stuff like that and save it and buy Bitcoin, it'll pay for itself. It'll be.
Yeah. Our last guest, 2 guests ago, made the statement that every decision you make is a financial decision where you're either walking towards wealth or towards poverty. Every decision. And I love that line. And it's exactly what you're saying right now.
You just have to live way below your income.
Yeah.
And that means you have to have a strong ego because you don't really care if people think you're rich or not.
Yeah.
Just, you can look poor, but just be buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And in my earlier days, it was buy real estate. Because the tenants pay it off for you. All you have to do is get the down payment. And there can be some negative cash flow for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. But at some point, it just pays itself off.
Oh my gosh. So I hope every satillionaire out there is on fire for number 14, Robert, who taught himself about Bitcoin on YouTube, sold 6 properties, smashed Bitcoin on the way down, hedged his bets with 2 stocks that have absolutely ripped since then, and Bitcoin has ripped since then. I mean, every Wall Street bro, their ears perked up when you said, Tesla and MicroStrategy, because they're doing the numbers and they're like, oh my gosh, they can't believe this guy. And I love that your conviction is to the point where, you can live as long as you can possibly live and you're going to be okay. I mean, that's exactly what we want for everyone who comes on the show, right? To get up and out of where they are to a place where they can be more like you. Because you're entrepreneurial. You're entrepreneurial. Am I entrepreneurial? No. I mean, I guess now I am, since I have started a business with Chris and I'm getting a taste of that. But like so many of us just, work and collect a paycheck, but there's only so much you can do with that until now, which is Bitcoin.
Right.
I mean, another great point too is, diversification. It's I don't want to say it's for weenies, but
Scaredy cats?
It's for weenies. I mean, it's lazy, really, is what it is. It's like, I don't want to have to do
fear.
it. It's fear. It's like, I don't want, it's fear, but it's also like, I don't trust myself enough to learn enough about what I could invest in and kind of think towards the future. And is this going to go up in value or down in value? But if you can do that, and anyone can do that, really.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to believe in yourself and have the conviction, and then you pick,
invest the time
and invest the time.
Mm-hmm.
Invest the time.
You have to learn.
Yeah, gotta learn.
So you texted me a couple of weeks ago about collateralizing Bitcoin, because I think since we first taped your show, Bitcoin was ripping upward, your stocks are ripping upward, and you were searching around for ways to like collateralize these things. And I feel like your bank, maybe it was First Citizens, was like, you're like, hey, look, I got some Bitcoin. How about we do it? And they're like, what? They're like, what is this stuff here? Like, this guy says it's an asset. Does anybody know what this is? Which is an absolute disgrace, First Citizens.
Totally.
Are you kidding me? Here comes number 14, Robert. Like, do you want to hold on to the absolute most goated money of all time in exchange for some of your silly pieces of paper? And they're like, we're not sure what you're talking about, sir. So, it's like unbelievable.
Oh.
Can you tell us about your experiences attempting to collateralize your Bitcoin? And then Chris will share his experiences. And then our satillionaires can benefit from that, because we actually had Simon Shura in the comments today ask for us to make a video about taking out a loan to buy more Bitcoin. So can you share yours, and then you'll share yours, and then
Sure.
we'll get it closed up?
Yep.
A quick aside that will tie right back into this. My parents wrote a check for $15,000 in the 60s for a nice big home. I will soon be selling that house for way up in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they paid $15,000 for it. So what if they paid cash? They've been saving their money and all that. But what if they had borrowed the old $15,000 and never paid it back? Then today I would, and my sister and I would be inheriting a house worth maybe $400,000, and we'd still owe that $15,000. In other words, the asset just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, but the dollars kept shrinking, because $15,000 won't buy nearly as many Big Macs now as they would have bought back in the 60s.
Yep.
In the same way, you can borrow on your Bitcoin and never pay it back, literally never, even if you live 20,000 years. Because the asset, you might have to change the investment assets if you live that long, but there's going to always be a Tesla type company and other good corporate companies that have a good future. So the idea is you borrow with plans to never pay back. You just always pay the interest each year and just keep going. And I liked the idea of doing that. I'm getting ready for personal use, buy land in the mountains, as well as some things down east. and that will be a personal asset. And I think I would rather borrow the money. I certainly don't want to sell any investments. So I just borrow the money and plan on never paying it back because it will shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink in relation to the assets.
Mm-hmm.
So I texted
Stewart.
I texted Stewart and asked about, is it LND what?
Leaden.
Leaden.
Ledn. Yeah, Leaden.
Text him about Leaden, and you felt pretty good about Leaden, and Chris has spoke positive of it here recently. So I might let Leaden hold some of my Bitcoin in return for a loan that I'll never pay back. So it's kind of like my Bitcoin has become a checkbook, but technically I'm borrowing it.
Yeah, and that I still need to wrap my head around that because I grew up with fiat loans, where let's like we took out a loan for our home and we did not put up any collateral. We just went to Siku and we crossed our fingers that they would look at our incomes and our cash assets versus our credit card debt and just say, okay, these guys look like they're pretty responsible and are going to be making enough money each paycheck to pay us. So we'll give you this much money to go and buy a home. I don't have a single drop of experience handing over something of value in exchange for some spending cash. So I don't understand how I don't even understand how it works, right? Because the mortgage you're supposed to pay off each month, but this is kind of a scenario where you're purposefully only paying the interest with how can somebody afford to give you that money and only get the interest back on it over time? And I know that Leaden has terms where you don't pay any interest at all over the course of the year. And at the end of the year, you can just choose to redo it because Bitcoin has gone up. You'll have to share your experience there, Chris, because I still can't wrap my head around it. And I get scared that I would somehow get upside down and, collapse my home underneath loans and debt.
Basically, the math, as you look at the math will scream at you that this works. It will absolutely scream at you. But your emotions, as was the case with me, will keep saying, oh, no, I don't want to owe money. But the mathematics says you really should do it because Bitcoin and Tesla are going to keep growing and the value of a dollar is going to keep shrinking. So that means your real debt is going to be shrinking even without paying anything off, any principal off. And eventually the math won with me.
So our loan with Leaden, actually, just for sake of keeping it simple, our interest rate, let's say, is actually 13.75%. Let's say it's 15.
Okay.
To keep it simple. As long as Bitcoin goes up by 15% or more over the term of the loan, I can just keep the Bitcoin as collateral and they'll continue the loan.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay anything back.
Yeah.
Let's say Bitcoin goes up by 30%, not 15. Now it's going up by 30%. I can actually take some of my Bitcoin out of collateral, and now they're holding less collateral, but they've kept.
Or could you add more loan to it?
Yeah, you could add more loan to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
you can get you could get, like, if I didn't already have income and if I just needed this to live on, I would borrow enough each quarter to live the next 3 months. Then before that ended, I'd borrow enough. I'd borrow another 3 months worth of living money, and the assets keep going up while the value of those debt dollars goes down.
Okay. And actually, while you were speaking, I was reminded of the fact that we bought our home at $200,000 and now it's worth over $400,000. So long as you think about it in dollar terms, it ain't worth squat in Bitcoin terms, Robert.
It's gone down.
It's gone down 99%.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it went, my house is an absolute piece of flattened gum on the New York City subway in Bitcoin terms. Like, it is worth nothing. But in dollar terms, it's more than doubled in value. And we basically were able to draw a home equity line of credit out of the difference between the original purchase price and today's, value on paper, so that we could make some renovations to the home. So I guess it's kind of similar, if you give Bitcoin to the lender and its value increases, you can get more juice out of it, almost like a Bitcoin equity line of credit. Or to your point, you can
just not pay the interest.
Yeah, but I mean, I still don't get how you can not pay interest. Like,
think of it in terms of the $15,000 that my parents paid for that house in the 60s. Say they had borrowed the $15,000. If they had not even paid interest, if they had just let it grow, today it would be worth a lot less than the value of the house. In other words, the value is going up fast enough in relation to the dollar, and the dollar's not staying the same. The dollar is shrinking. I mean, there are people watching this video that will someday pay $10,000 for a Big Mac.
Yeah.
So the dollar is melting away, but it just keeps melting. They can charge $20 billion for a Big Mac. They can just keep changing the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
But it allows, when you own good investment assets, you can borrow money and let the growth of the asset even pay the interest.
Okay, so like if the home becomes worth $30,000 and they say, well, you owe us $1,000 in interest, you could just say, well, just make the loan 16.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep rolling.
Yeah. And you can do that every year. It appears forever.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's been like that for centuries.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And Simple Steve also, number 60, Simple Steve recommended 2 or 3 options for collateralizing your Bitcoin. I can't remember what they are right now, but I'll find them. I'll text them to you.
Thanks.
And we'll put them in the pinned comment underneath the show for everyone who's interested as well, so that you have that information here at the world's biggest Bitcoin Welcome Center. And Ledden wasn't one of them that you recommended. Not that he has anything wrong. Not that he has any problem with Ledden. He just had experience with other ones, and I'll find them for you.
Where he borrowed money.
Yes.
Through those companies.
Because, and this is worth saying, he mentioned that some options want you to get like they want the price of Bitcoin to dip underneath your agreed amount so that they can take it from you.
So they can margin call you.
Correct. Yeah. There are some exchanges out there that when you go a penny underneath, boom, your Bitcoin's ours. And they want that to happen because their whole strategy is to collect as much Bitcoin from people who are doing this as possible. But that there were 1 or 2 others he's been acquainted with where they are forgiving. And they'll actually, if you get margin called, they'll actually be like, hey, listen, technically you're not in good standing anymore, but if you send some more Bitcoin in short order, no problem. You can kind of, what is it called when you add more to
top up?
You can top up. Okay. They're more forgiving in that way because they're not out to get you. So I'll find the ones that he sent me and I'll send them to you after the show.
Thank you.
And then maybe with Ledden and the two or three that he mentions, you can do because we know you're good at researching. You can figure out which one you feel most comfortable with. So let's recap the conversation with number 14, Robert. Just love this guy. Definitely one of my faves. So number 14, Robert, was born in the early 50s. 1951. Okay. So we officially have a baby boomer here confirmed. At the age of 16 or so, he convinced his dad to go in on a real estate deal at Carolina Beach. And Robert went in on 10% of the deal, and his dad went in on 90% of the deal. And that was your first experience building generational wealth through real estate. Now, you put your focus into being a successful businessman. And that included some CPA action for various businesses here and globally. I think you sold that at some point, went into some dentistry management as well, and effectively just did a good job adding value to the marketplace like any good entrepreneur, taking the proceeds, saving them up in order to get a down payment on a piece of rental property, and then you would go get yourself that rental property. It might be cash flow negative for a few years. It might not, but ultimately it all works out. And for 5 decades, you are basically repeating this process successfully. COVID hits, some fellow freezes rents, and it sounds like it was just a guy in the government and not even
a girl.
A girl.
Bureaucrat.
Okay, a bureaucrat. A bureaucrat. Oh,
the worst.
When has anybody felt good saying the word bureaucrat?
Never.
It's bad. It's bad. You know, I mean, you know, you have an aristocrat, you have an autocrat. Yeah. You know, crat, but then they just add bureau. Like you're an office person. You know, you're a desk person. You work at a bureau.
She told every tenant in America they didn't have to pay their rent.
Which is insane.
She stole property from landlords in saying that. And very few politicians criticized her. No judge overruled her. And I decided I've got to get my investments out of, at least not so heavily in real estate.
So he sold off. So first of all, you went searching for an exit.
Yeah.
Let me go learn about stocks on YouTube.
An off-ramp, if you will.
An off-ramp, if you will. And when you went to YouTube to look for stocks, who was waiting for you but the Chad himself, Michael Saylor, who was speaking about Bitcoin in like historic terms and in like digital engineering terms. And
I read Saifuddin Ammus's book.
Saifuddin.
That was big.
Yes. And he takes us on an epic journey through the history of money, only to dump us out at the end in a chapter where he tells us why, now that we've reviewed all the different forms of money, here's Bitcoin. It's the best kind. And you leave that book, you're like, golly, I need some Bitcoin right now.
The Bitcoin standard, where only 1 out of the 8 chapters even mentions Bitcoin.
It's incredible. It's great. You got to get all the way to the end.
Yeah, you do.
But you can only understand the end if he takes you where he takes you.
100%.
So
great book.
It's a great book. So you went looking, and what you ultimately found was Bitcoin, the greatest money of all time, the greatest investment of all time, the most accessible money of all time, the most accessible investment of all time. It goes with you. You know, you don't have to pay any taxes on it the same way you would a property. Some bureaucrat can't tell Bitcoin to stop going to the moon the same way they can tell you to quit paying rents. Like, that was a safe haven for you. And somebody was threatening to take your generational wealth away from you with a simple command from a centralized space. And what you found was Bitcoin, decentralized, leaderless, permissionless, trustless. And you sold 6 homes, which is incredible, because I thought the number was 3.
Well, it depends on how you group it.
Yeah. So 6.
It's not as simple as I had put it, but
right.
That's basically it. Yeah.
He basically took a chunk of his real estate portfolio and smashed it into Bitcoin on the way down. Bless this man and his conviction and his time studying Bitcoin. Also put some into Tesla and MicroStrategy.
1/3 each.
Yeah, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
And you also you don't impress me as someone who just takes careless risks. It's not that you were being risky. You were willing to put the time in to researching and understand, what is Bitcoin? Where do I think Tesla's going? What's going on with MicroStrategy? And after you had acquired enough knowledge about all 3 of those things, you could make a decision confidently with conviction to say, 3 eggs is still a very small basket compared to most people's portfolios.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
especially since one of those 3 eggs is like a deviled egg. That's the copy of the other egg. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like 2/3 and 1/3.
Yeah.
You have 3. You're diversified into 3 places, but it's kind of like 2.5.
Yeah,
2 to 2.5, right?
That's how you create wealth, though. I mean, that's how it works.
So amazing. So you did that. Cost basis $20,000. Bitcoin now 107,623. Just 5x'd his stack in 5 years. MicroStrategy even more than that, I believe. Tesla, I'm not sure what it's doing, but the guy absolutely crushed it and is now confident that he and his wife could live to be 100,000 years old, and he's going to be just fine.
It's a great statement.
Which means his kids are going to be just fine. His grandkids are going to be just fine. His great grandkids are going to be just fine. Like, Robert's line is secure. And now there's this idea of, okay. Oh, and by the way, on our last episode with Robert, we did talk about how you keep basically 1 month of cash available. I think 3 months worth of gold on deck, and the rest is Bitcoin and your investments, correct?
That varies some. Right now, I've got more cash than that and more gold than that. But
okay,
that's the principle.
You kind of balance it to where you're kind of light on cash, got a little bit of gold as a backstop against anything that might happen to your investments or to Bitcoin, and then you got your Bitcoin. And now you're actually turning your attention toward, finding ways to collateralize Bitcoin and your assets so that you can kind of just absolutely
never sell.
Yeah, never sell.
I mean, come on, y'all.
I really don't want to sell.
Never sell. Yeah.
I'd much rather borrow the equivalent of 5 Bitcoins than to sell 5 Bitcoins.
Yes.
I can borrow on it, and that way I still own the Bitcoin. So as they grow, I'm still getting that growth.
I mean, I think a lot of 74-year-old people are mentally winding themselves down, and you're getting ready to kaboom yourself into outer space. Yeah. I absolutely love it. I love it, right? Because you're not the typical Bitcoiner that we see, but you are a Bitcoiner, and you're a freaking good one. I mean, it gets me so pumped up. I want to get more Bitcoin now. And if you want more Bitcoin and you want a chance at 10 million sats, which is 0.1 Bitcoin, number 14, Robert had 10% of a house that went to the moon that he sold 20 to 30 years later. You could get 10% of a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Just by subscribing to this show while you listen to number 14, Robert melt your face off with his good decisions. Okay? Like you're the Nazi who opens the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones. You know what I'm talking about? Just peels off. So we can't fit everything into a single chat about sats. And I feel like we're going to be mining Robert's mind for all time. So would you be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on your Bitcoin baby?
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely adore that. We're going to taste some hummus here. And Chris and I are going to taste some hummus here because Robert only eats Bitcoin for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He's actually transcended to a world where he has digital nourishment. That's how much he believes in Bitcoin. He lives on Bitcoin.
He's on a strict sats only diet. Sats only.
Yeah, dude.
His body is his temple, and my body is my temple, which is why, I don't know, probably good 30 to 40% of my diet is Ithaca hummus. Which is our sponsor here on the show.
Yeah, I absolutely crush it all the time. So this is the Graza collaboration. This is to Robert. Thank you for coming back on the show, man.
You. Yes.
Thanks for having
me.
Got quiet all of a sudden. Should I sing?
Yeah, sure.
They love the crunch. We try to get down in there and crunch on it. They like
good.
that, you know.
Good olive oil. Wonderful.
There are videos online of people that just chewing gum because there's like a sound component.
You got something on your beard there. I think it's hummus. Yeah, you're good.
Got it.
All right. Now to close out, you know that We believe in exchanging our value for your value. You came twice now and shared your time, your experience, your knowledge with us and our Satillionaires. So in exchange, we'd like to offer you your choice of $50 or $50 worth of Bitcoin, which I'll calculate using the UTX Oracle by Simple Steve.
Shout out number 60. We love you. So we've got $50 or
46,458 sats.
I'll take the sats and I'll donate them to y'all.
Yeah, here we go. See, I knew you guys weren't going to be ready for that.
He said, I'll take them and I'll give them right back.
Yeah. So we've had people choose the cash. We've had people choose the sats. We had one guy choose the cash because he wanted the frame. He wanted us to sign the frame.
The frame was more valuable to him than the $50 in it.
Yeah. The money as like a memory of his time here. We had one lady who was an absolute boss lady CEO said, I'll defray my sats. And when I come back on in 9 months, if Bitcoin has gone up in price, I'll take my sats from today and I'll take my sats from then at today's price. Which means that if it goes up to 250K, we'll have to give her $50 worth of 100K. And so she like totally boss lady negotiated us. Each time somebody enters the castle a way that we haven't seen before, we patch that sucker up.
And we say yes to take our licks for it.
Yeah.
And then we patch it up for moving forward.
But one entryway into the castle, which we'll call Robert's door, we're not going to patch up because it's where you take the sats and you give them right back to us. And we appreciate that because we love Bitcoin.
Now it's been you and Jeff Booth have done that.
Well, Jeff and Jameson Lopp donated their sats.
Not the Jeff Booth.
Oh, yeah. Number 62.
Has he been on your show?
Number 62, man.
Yeah.
Fire it up when you get home.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that episode is like... bet you Satillionaires were not expecting Robert to skip the hummus and give us our sats back. Bam. Put down in the comments what you think. This guy's the absolute man and has all the Bitcoin he needs to take care of everybody in his line for all time. I want to be Robert when I'm 74.
Me too.
I want to be absolutely goated telling the young guys, like, y'all need to get some Bitcoin. I'm just telling y'all need to get some Bitcoin. And it'll be like $10 million by then. I'm going to be like, look, guys, at $10 million, it's free. Bitcoin's basically free.
Yeah.
Get some freaking Bitcoin because we're going to a $100 million.
When it was selling for 20,000, people were saying that's just too much. It can't go any higher.
Yeah.
They'll be saying that when it reaches 20 million. That's just too much. It can't go any higher. When you look at it logically and combine that logic with some facts, you realize you really have to buy this stuff. For me, not to buy it would be truly stupid.
Oh, God.
Other people who don't buy it, they're not stupid. They just haven't looked into it the way I have.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair.
I wish they would.
And we're hoping we can help them start to look a little bit more closely.
That's what we're here for.
So this is the part of the show where we ask you Satillionaires for your value in exchange for ours. What do we value? YouTube subscriptions.
And watch hours.
When we reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, we will select one of you at random and drop 10 million sats on your head. So subscribe. It's super easy. It's one button click or one tap on your phone.
That's it.
And by the way, your chances of winning are 1 in 100,000, which is superior to any lottery I've ever come across.
Way better.
And when you win the lottery, that money shrinks. And when you win our giveaway, that money goes up, right?
No taxes. No taxes till you sell it.
Bam. Now, also hit our Sat Chats playlist and find number 62, Jeff Booth, because I know Robert's going to watch it. It's going to blow your mind. When we reach enough watch hours, we'll unlock a membership area on YouTube so you can watch full raw episodes early.
Members only.
And maybe some stuff that might be too toxic Bitcoin maxi for the main welcome center. We'll see. You can also come on the show, satchats.com. Grab your slot. I mean, do you want to join the ranks of number 14 Robert and be like, dude, I was on the same show as this absolute Chad from Raleigh who is the freaking man, okay? You can do it. You just go to the website.
That's even better than Jeff Booth.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which Bitcoin podcast has number 14 Robert on it? There's only one. There's only one that's collecting stories that make you ready to go.
Yep.
And it's us. All right. So, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. But it's in your best interests to adopt Robert's views. Just going to say that right now. Thanks so much for watching Satillionaires. We'll see you tomorrow.